Hello, my name is Christine and I run a vintage shop called Prima Treasures on Etsy. Today I wanted to talk to you about this box of stuff that I bought about 8 years ago at an auction. You can see that, it has some interesting things in here, but nothing that jumps out at you as being particularly valuable. So when we bought the box, we went through and sorted everything and we picked out the stuff that we wanted to list in our store and we set the other things aside. And about 3 weeks later, I came back to the box and I asked my husband, what do we want to do with these other items that we didn't put in our store? And his suggestion was to just go ahead and donate the items. And I asked him in particular about this vial of sand. You can see it in the photo. It looked interesting to me, but I didn't really know anything about it. So I said, well, let me see if I can find out something about the sand before we donate it. And so I did some research online, and I learned that it was actually an antique bottle of sand from Yellowstone Park. And you can see from the label on the bottom that it says it's from Yellowstone Park. What I didn't know at the time, and I learned in my research, is that about, 100 years ago, they stopped letting people take sand out of Yellowstone Park. So that practice was banned and you can't do it anymore, and you haven't been able to do it for a long time. So I thought it was interesting, and in my mind, that made this vial worth, looking for a buyer. So I listed it on eBay, and within an hour, and I have to say this is probably the record sale that we've ever gotten, within an hour someone had come along and purchased the vial of sand. And I had listed it for about $100 because when I was poking around looking at previous eBay sales, I was seeing some high numbers for these vials of sand. So I just kind of took a shot and said, okay, $100. And so we were both very stunned to see it sell so quickly. And you can see from the photos that I'm posting that it's, it looks like your typical sand art that a little kid would do. And so as I say, we didn't really think much of it at the time that we found it. But, apparently the guy that started this, he was kind of trying to sell souvenirs around Yellowstone Park nearby. He had to get a permit to put up a stand on the land, and I've got a little picture here that shows his shack where he sold from. But as I said, eventually they stopped allowing this because they felt that it was damaging to the park to continue removing sand and other little tchotchkes, or little bits of sand and natural material that someone could turn into a tchotchke. So you can't do this anymore, and that's part of why the sand is so valuable, is because it's a souvenir from a time when removing material from the park was allowed, and that has not been the case for quite a long time. And what we did not know at the time when we were bidding in the auction is that the items that they were selling were from a local museum. And so pretty much everything in that box was something a museum had at one point or another, and they were shutting down, so they were liquidating it, but we really didn't realize that anything in that box was special in any way. So the reason I wanted to share this story is because it's hard to tell sometimes when you're looking through items in an auction which things are unique or rare or valuable. And as a vintage seller, we've learned sometimes you just have to do the work. You have to look at each thing with as an objective eye as you can, and do the research, figure out what it is, and until you know what it is, don't presume and don't toss it out. So I hope this little story helps you to kind of get an idea of what it's like to be a picker, and I thank you for watching today.